wind.
I think it's very important we listen to what Ron Harris has to say very closely, because if a hurricane does strike here, or if we get any part of it, Ron will keep us prepared. Ron, what's going on?
And that's what we're going to be taking a look at, some of the precautions to take, because we do have some new advisories just out, and they say sometimes all news is not good news, and the latest news I have is not good news. I'll tell you all about it coming up right after this. Well, Gloria is certainly no fine lady, no other way to put this. A very serious storm, still a dangerous storm in a Category 3, or actually a 4 still, bordering, but still a very dangerous hurricane, and is now starting to change gears. Let's take a look at a radar picture of this hurricane, the way it's been put, and put it into motion during today, and you'll be able to see the radar band with a precipitation shield right in here, the core of the system right here, and this is the general track that it has taken off toward the northwest, spinning up and continuing to spin on toward the North Carolina coastline where the hurricane warnings were. We'll update this shortly because there have been some changes. Now it is starting to move more due north, and you can see if this goes north from here that it's just going to nick the coastline, and that can be a big problem as far as we are concerned. Now across the New England 6-state region right now, no major problems to be had. Mainly at the airport, you can see dew point 46, a relative humidity of 46%. Other stats are not important at this time due to time. 62 out in Greenville, 60s off to the north with sunshine reported. High clouds, and they thicken up to the south. Here's the solid cloud line running just about through Boston, not quite to Boston, through Providence, through Hartford. Light northeasterly winds down here, and also a lot of cloudiness, but the rainfall has not made it to southern New England yet. But again, I guess you could say the plot does thicken because we are continuing to have a problem as the storm continues to develop. We'll now go on and take a look at some terms, because these are now appropriate, because as of now we have a change. Now we have hurricane watches which are issued running from about Eastport, Maine down to the Plymouth, Massachusetts area. Now from north of Plymouth, Massachusetts to Eastport, Maine, it's a hurricane watch. That's where we are, most of our viewers, and that's what means there's a threat of hurricane conditions perhaps in, say, 24 to 36 hours, meaning there could be very, very strong winds and some rough seas as well. That is just a threat. It is not imminent. Now, there is a hurricane warning. This has just been issued, folks, hot off the press seconds ago. A hurricane warning has now been put into effect from the Cape Henry area, and now has been extended all the way to Plymouth, Massachusetts, including Cape Cod. Southern New England coast has a hurricane warning, and what that means, expect hurricane conditions in specified coastal areas, and within 24 hours there could be hurricane conditions there, and they are to take immediate action and protect their life and property down there. And again, immediately, that is along our New England south coast. Again, a hurricane warning is in effect. We'll take a quick look at the radar roundup for you, and it shows the band with a frontal system. This is the wedge, which is starting to move to the east. Here's all the precipitation sliding up the east coast. To the west, they have no worries out in here, and you'll be able to see that on the satellite shot. We'll take a look from 23,000 miles in space and see exactly where the band is. A tremendous hurricane surge. You can pick up the swirling motion in here. We can't see an eye with this picture, but there is a well-defined eye with us as well, and very strong winds. Out to the west, no problems, very quiet, nothing to worry about out here. The broad view, once again, will be showing us on the east coast the humongous storm Gloria right in here, now tracking due north. That is the critical problem as it starts to veer off in our general direction. Current national map is showing the Hurricane Gloria, which is now moving off toward the northeast. It's 190 miles off to the south of Hatteras. Tomorrow evening, it'll be moving in through New England. This is only a forecast, so disregard where this is. Although it'll become a tropical storm during tomorrow evening, the winds will slacken once it does hit land. Cold air out on the lakes, and the east shakes, and I mean shivers, because this one is a very dangerous one as it moves up. Hurricane Gloria, here's where it is now, and now moving due north, and you can see if it moves due north from here, it's only going to graze the Carolinas, and that could be a major problem as it moves in here. Otherwise, look at what we've got for temperatures, mostly in the 20s out here. A bit of rain out at St. John's, otherwise no problems. We'll specify on the Maritimes throughout this evening as the storm gets closer to them, but due to time, we'll talk more about the Maine area, which of course has the hurricane watch now in effect. We'll take a look at the complete forecast and some more things you may want to know about this hurricane coming up right after this. Well, checking out the all-important beach and boating forecast. Eastport to the Merrimack River and up to 25 miles offshore. Since this has just changed, we couldn't get it into the computer. Again, a hurricane watch is now in effect from Eastport and southward, so beware of that, mariners. Winds east-southeast, forget this whole thing because they're probably going to be all upgraded here to 25 to 40 knots. It'll be much stronger than that with a hurricane watch possible. That would mean perhaps 74-mile-per-hour winds in that entire area. Seas will average 1 to 3 feet. They'll probably build more than 6 to 10 feet if this thing comes a little closer. The visibility will lower to below a mile in the developing rain and fog. Now we'll take a look at what's happening in terms of a hotline, a number that you can call, the WVII Hurricane Hotline, which is in action, and I'll be updating this throughout tonight and all morning tomorrow and tomorrow as well. You can call and get the very latest positions if you're wondering about friends or relatives down the coast or throughout Maine, how it's going to affect us. The number 942-2001. Again, 942 2001, and we will continue to watch that very, very closely for you. Had some calls wondering about the entire storm surge, how much it'll be causing along the Maine coast. We'll get to that after the forecast. For tonight, wispies will thicken, light southeasterly winds. Look for the clouds to thicken throughout the night, dropping into the mid-50s. Now for tomorrow, that's when the heavy rains will start to move in, and during the afternoon, the winds will whip. Again, we may be being conservative, but we're going to go with winds perhaps of 30 to 40 miles per hour, gusting to 60 miles per hour. And if that thing comes a little closer, we'll have winds over 75 miles per hour. Highs will be into the mid-60s. Again, stay tuned and certainly keep abreast. And all boats stay in port, running from Eastport to the Merrimack River. For tomorrow night, we'll look for rainy and windy, the precipitation tapering off, dropping into the upper 50s. And the way now that it does appear during the start of the weekend, Saturday, we'll have a much better day with just a few showers, some sunshine, but by then, everything should be history. And again, people are wondering about the surge along the coast because we have a hurricane watch. It's only a watch, but still, where the hurricane does come into land, to the right of the eye and near the eye, there'll be an 8 to 12-foot storm surge. In other words, an 8 to 12-foot tidal surge, actually above normal. So that on top of the normal high tides because we have a full moon on Saturday. So where that does happen, it'll be a big problem. But I don't think that's going to be in Maine right now.
Bad news is Hurricane Gloria could be coming up. Good news is we went down to the coastal towns. People seem to be preparing, so they realize it, and they thank you for it, Ron.
Yeah, we've got the watches in effect now, and again, we'll be watching it all night long.
Okay. Carrie?
We've all been paying so much attention to hurricane.
News Plus 7 with Ken Suarez. Weather with meteorologist Ron Harris. And sports with Ron Lisnett.
Good evening, I'm Ken Suarez. Most of the East Coast is preparing to deal with Hurricane Gloria. No one knows exactly where and when she'll hit, so no one is taking any chances. With the latest on the situation, let's go to Ron Harris. Ron, how does it look for our area?
Okay, I've been plotting it all night long, continuing to see exactly its course, and we've seen a couple of shifts in the course which could have some big implications as far as we're concerned. The scenes you're looking at now are some down in Providence, Rhode Island, not from this hurricane, but back in 1938, and many New Englanders are remembering that one and worrying about this one perhaps causing a lot of problems when there were 63,000 homeless and 700 dead in that hurricane. Now, what we have to keep in mind, there weren't hurricane watches or warnings or anything like that back then, so we were in much better hands. Of course, that's why we're working around the clock trying to keep you updated on this. But there have been a couple of changes on this situation, showing that perhaps the storm is now taking a more north or even northeasterly course, and if that is the case, it could stay over the water. I'm going to check some more atmospheric conditions and come back with a weathercast. If that is the case, it could mean worse weather for much of New England, perhaps a very dangerous hurricane heading into New England. I'm not sure yet. I'll try to have more for you coming up a little later.
Not to alarm people, but are there any kind of preparations that we should be taking in this area just in case? Let's make sure that everything is safe in case she does hit here.
There are definitely preparations that should be taken not lightly. Now, a lot of those preparations have to do with a hurricane watch, which we have, and I'm going to go through all of those, which should be taken and taken during this evening, if not sooner. I'll tell you about them later.
Okay, thanks a lot, Ron. I know you probably don't have power over this, but if you help avert the storm, you probably could run for governor, at least mayor of Bangor.
You're not kidding.
That's a tough order to fill, huh?
This, wouldn't that be nice? But
yeah.
We certainly don't, but we're trying to use all the forecasting tools to try to come up with a forecast that is going to be accurate. Nonetheless, it's a very tough call, no question about it. That's what we've been stressing, to keep monitored and watch it and keep updated through the local media, of course, here at Channel 7. And we have some very late satellite data just in, which may tell a bit of a tale of what's going to be happening, and it may not be all that nice. I'll tell you about it right after this. Well, Gloria is certainly getting ready to bear down. It is going to hit portions of the East Coast. We'll try to specify on this. Let's take a look at what we're calling the Hurricane Watch Action Checklist. This is what you should be doing because we are under a hurricane watch all the way from north of Plymouth, Massachusetts, right on towards Eastport, Maine. Now, what you want to do immediately is check, if you haven't done this already, keep checking your official bulletins through here at Channel 7 on TV, and also, if you can't get here for some reason, if there's a power failure on the radio, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, get the car are fueled up, more small craft, or move to actual shelters, safer shelters. Stock up on canned provisions as well. Check medicine and drugs. That's a very good idea. Also check the batteries for radios and flashlights, and tape board or shutter down windows so that they don't shatter in some strong winds should they come about, and wedge sliding glass doors so that they don't come out of their tracks. Those are some of the things that you should be doing with a hurricane watch. With a hurricane warning, it's a different story. If that should take place, we will bring you another list on that. This is the radar plot, the color radar, showing the motion of this in time-lapse photography. Here's a track that has been taking off to the northwest, and this was earlier today. Then starting to curve about 9 a.m. this morning, I started to see a change in the shift of this pattern, moving more northerly, and you can see how close it is getting to the Carolinas. We have some later stuff that we're going to be seeing a little later in the weathercast, which may show you that it is perhaps turning just a wee bit. We'll go across the regional map and be able to show you, first of all, at the airport, dew point of 46. These are the statistics. We won't dwell on them. They aren't important now. They may be tomorrow. Southeasterly winds, 50s throughout most of the Pine Tree State. Light easterly winds down in Boston. There have been some scattered showers down in portions of Westfield, Massachusetts, and light northeasterly winds down in here as well. Nothing across New England to really speak of yet. We can see the solid cloud line north of Burlington, north of Montpelier, then running right about through the Portland area. There's quite a few clouds up to Augusta as well, and these are Gloria clouds. They are the northern fringes of Hurricane Gloria, and everything is starting to move on up the coastline. We'll take a look at the radar roundup for you and show you where the precipitation shield is, actually the satellite pic, and here is the precipitation and the cloud shield associated with it. And you can see there's about an eye right in here off the coast. The west, once again, they have no problems. They're listening to this saying, what are they all talking about? And they can see it through satellites as well, and perhaps through all the damage and destruction that may come about during tomorrow. The hurricane, again, here's the strong point of it. This is an infrared shot used during the nighttime, so you can't see it all that well. Out in the Hawaiian Islands and the Pacific, no major problems here to speak of either, therefore no problems really to talk about. Now we'll take a look at the current national map, and you can see where Gloria is, just off the coast. The eye is staying over water at the current time. That is critical as well. Forecast map by late tomorrow night, early Saturday morning, just a very strong low pressure system. It'll die once it moves inland, and die quite rapidly. The cold plunge out in the west, a lot of heat here. After the system passes by, we're going to be summer-like around here. Warm weekend maybe on tap. This is just in. Now note how this moves. The circulation on this thing starting to pinwheel off to the northwest as we continue through the day, starting to curl more northerly in here. And note how it's now starting to curl actually perhaps northeast. If that's the case, it's going to stay over water, and that could be quite a bit of a problem in our general area. We'll have to watch that very, very closely. Radar roundup is showing all the precipitation out to the west. This is the frontal system. As it slides to the east coast, it sort of picks this up. It's like a big hand in the atmosphere, a digging shovel, and it's shoveling it up on the coastline. And if it turns it and keeps it out over the water, which may be happening, I am leaning a bit more toward that, only by a few little bits of data, although I am leaning a little bit more toward that, it will be a stronger hurricane than earlier thought when it does perhaps barrel into the New England area, if that is its destination. We'll check out the details of the all-important forecast, and mariners stand by. We'll check your forecast out as well. Well, checking out that beach and boating forecast, Eastport to the Merrimack River and up to 25 miles offshore. There is a hurricane watch in effect in this area up to 25 miles offshore. Again, beware of that. All small craft should stay in port. Don't venture out into the Atlantic. No question about that. High tide in Bar Harbor, 10:10 during this evening is what we had, and a low tide coming up at 4:30 during tomorrow morning. These are the statistics as they should go with the wind flow. This is subject to change. Again, check your latest local advisories. I'll have them throughout tomorrow. East to southeast, 5 to 15 knots, increasing 15 to 25 knots, 25 to 40 knots during tomorrow. Look at the seas building 6 to 10 feet during tomorrow. Also, the visibility will lower perhaps to below a mile as the rain and fog does spread on down the coast. With all the talk of a hurricane, we'll talk about a hurricane hotline for you, and a number that you can call, WVII Hurricane Hotline, and we'll give you the up-to-the-date information on the hurricane, the coordinates, and etc. 942-2001. Again, 942-2001. I will be updating that throughout the rest of tonight and tomorrow morning as we continue to monitor the progression of this very dangerous Hurricane Gloria. So the forecast for Bangor, Brewer, and vicinity. For tonight, the wispies are thickening up. Look for a light southeasterly wind. Lows will be dropping into the mid-50s, not much lower than that. For tomorrow, that's when the action begins. Heavy rains developing later on in the morning. Winds picking up, especially in the afternoon. Across southern New England, Massachusetts coastal areas could have hurricane force winds near noontime. And if that storm does come close enough and the right track, we could have hurricane force winds here later in the afternoon. For tomorrow night, look for it to be rainy, windy, tapering off late at night. Lows dropping into the upper 50s the way it looks. And the way now we're calling for Friday, Actually, Saturday, I'm getting mixed up on the days with Gloria. Showers, then some sunshine, highs into the upper 60s to near 70 degrees, and by that time, it will all have passed. So the worst time here through southern, central, northern Maine, the area of Maine, it's going to accelerate north, would be roughly 2 o'clock to 2 o'clock, meaning 2 o'clock p.m. tomorrow to about 2 o'clock a.m. on Saturday morning.
You know, so many times we have a good time and we joke up here, but weathercasting really is serious, and it's nice to have somebody on board that's as accurate and as good as you are. And I say that in all sincerity.
Well, I thank you very much, and we hope that we can keep updating this and hope it works out. It'll all be worth it if it can save protection of lives, and et cetera. It's worth all the effort.
Thanks a lot, Ron.
The hardest working man in show business.
And weathercasting, too. Now, how is weather affecting sports?
Well, we're going to have a lot of cancellations tonight on our baseball scoreboard, and it could wreak havoc, of course, with the golf tournament going down in Cape Elizabeth, and a lot of baseball.
And we're all hoping for some spring-like weather. Today was a beautiful day.
Boy,
wonderful, sunny. You could really enjoy the colors.
Continue with the beautiful weather around here. Speaking of lumber, we'll build upon a 50-50 kind of a forecast. Looks like tomorrow we're going to squeak out another beauty around here.
Great.
Continues to be Indian summer-like, as it looks like, well, you know, all good things must come to an end. But now we're talking about perhaps one more day Mother Nature will be our friend, and friendship literally in the forecast coming up next. Well, our weather does continue dry, but it looks like later tomorrow night the skies will begin to cry. Some showers moving in, but we get a beauty, I think, on tap for much of tomorrow. Right now across New England at the airport, dew point of 40 degrees, the relative humidity a bit up there, 78%, barometer 30.40 and steady. High today, a pair of 6s. We're going to beat that tomorrow, folks, up near 70 degrees. A low of 35 should be in the mid and upper 50s this time of year. We continue to be spoiled with Indian summer-like weather. Southwesterly winds are light. The cold spot and the normally cold spot in Holton at 37 degrees. Not a cloud to be found across much of the Pine Tree State and much of New England for that matter. Calm, this is the symbol over much of New England as well. Starry skies to the south in the 40s, mostly in the 50s to the west. Look at top Mount Washington, 43 degrees, belying the fact that warmer air is coming in aloft up above 6,000 feet. Therefore, tomorrow should be even warmer than today, except for your local influences, which are called mesoscale influences, coming in with some moisture along the coastline, cooler along the Atlantic coastal areas. Otherwise, we've got simply marvelous mercury out there, and we continue with the beautiful weather. Let's go on and take a look at what the sky should appear like when you look up tomorrow. Say, oh yes, you'll be seeing the following: cirrus clouds in the skies, and what that will mean is ice crystals up above 20 to 40,000 feet in the atmosphere. Usually forewarned of precipitation coming in, and this will be no exception, coming in early in the afternoon. Then late in the afternoon towards sunset, you'll be seeing the following. With the sun setting, a lot of alto stratus clouds. Those are more middle layered clouds, meaning precipitation is on the way, 8,500 to say, about 20,000 feet in the atmosphere. Those clouds will continue to come on in our direction. Then the rain moves in late tomorrow night, but don't worry, much of tomorrow should be a beauty around the Pine Tree State. On to the radar roundup. Here's the precipitation I've been watching on radar. Out to the west with showers and thunderstorms. As this front churned southeastward through Iowa, Cedar Rapids had, would you believe, 3/4 of an inch of rainfall in 15 minutes, and that'll give you a good thunder boom. Fairfield, Iowa, reporting golf ball size hail. More showers and thunderstorms with flash flood watches over much of Louisiana and Mississippi, extending into northwestern Alabama as well. Showers along the Texas coastal plain. Again, a lot of problems down here. Lafayette, Louisiana, 4 inches of rain, 3 inches in Alexandria, Louisiana. Meanwhile, off to the west, more showers and some snow up in portions of Idaho, nearly 14 inches. Strong winds out in this area as well, gusting to nearly 70 miles per hour in Livingston, Montana, while much of the south is nice. Let's go on and take a look at the sights from the heights for you, and you'll be able to see satellite shot just into the Channel 7 studios. Here in New England, we continue beautiful, the gleaming, glorious gift. Here the clouds continue to shift on, and look at the west. Nasty, nasty in the north, but look at the southern half. A beautiful sunny strip earlier today. Now the starlit skies. Continuing on in motion, we can see that the broad view does show the strip of clouds here. Here's the cold front on a New England hunt. It'll shoot us down with showers, some gully washers later tomorrow night. Oh, look it out to the west toward Hawaii. An area of disturbed weather far to the south and off to the north. You can see the outer limits. Meanwhile, the broad view on the current national map is showing us high pressure moving off the coast. That means we begin to roast with the southwesterly flow. Warm air has a higher capacity for water, so what's going to happen? We'll watch a train of rain headed for Maine. This train will have whistling winds as well tomorrow night, strong out of the south and southwest. Highs tomorrow, you ask? Look at what we've got to the south. 80s and some 90s in Florida. Today there was a record-breaking 89 in Tampa. This warm bubble is going to burst in our direction. We'll get up into the 60s and lower 70s around here. Things are looking good. On to the Maritimes, not all that bad. The clouds are starting to crack up across portions of the area. 2 degrees in Stephenville, mostly on the quiet side. Out further towards our place, we find bright starlit skies from Prince Edward Island on towards Charlottetown, 6 degrees on toward Halifax, 6 in Yarmouth, 5 as you head on Chatham, 4 in St. John, 5 also in Fredericton, and mostly starlit skies. A clear call in here. A lot of sunshine on tap during tomorrow. A beauty on tap as well for much of Newfoundland. More on Newfoundland and, of course, the forecast coming up right after this. Well, checking out the marine scene from Eastport to the Merrimack River and up to 25 miles offshore. The winds becoming south-southwest 5 to 15 knots. They'll increase 10 to 20 knots, same direction during tomorrow. Seas averaging 2 to 4 feet. The visibility deteriorating to 1 to 3 miles tomorrow night in the developing rain. Otherwise, it'll be fair during tomorrow. Bar Harbor high tide 8:43 tomorrow morning, and your low tide next scheduled one, Bar Harbor 2:28 in the morning. Some town temperatures during tomorrow. This is what you can expect in Fairbanks. It'll be about 59 degrees in Franklin County. Fairfield 65. Fairmont, you're looking at 65 as well. Well, Farmingdale and southern Kennebec, well, we'll look for a temperature of 63 beautiful degrees. How about Forest City? 70 degrees. Knock 'em dead there. Beautiful weather. Northern Washington County. Frankfurt will be about 60. Friendship, you're looking at the upper 50s. Winds coming in off the water. All in all, it will be friendly down there as well as we continue with beautiful weather into tomorrow. Then the clouds increase. So putting it all in the forecast for Bangor, Brewer, and vicinity for tonight, we'll look for star-stuffed skies. There'll be a weak wind. Lows dropping down to the upper 40s to near upper 30s to near 40. Not that bad for this time of year. For tomorrow, well, it looks pretty good for much of the time. Super sunny start. Some of those high clouds moving in during the afternoon, but again, looking pretty good. Near 70 sensational degrees, 60 if you're right on the coast. Otherwise, again, it's going to be a toasty one. For tomorrow night, we'll call for some of those gully washes, but again, most of the rain will hold off till after midnight and toward morning. Call them gully washers or gutter gushers, whatever you want. Windy out of the southwest, gusting to 30 miles per hour. Maybe even a crack of thunder as the front comes through early. Mid and upper 40s to near 50 for a low. And the outlook right now for Friday, shower power in the morning. Some afternoon breaks, that should say AM. Highs will be near 60 degrees, perhaps cracking 60, with a few breaks of sunshine coming out in the afternoon. Then over the weekend, what I was talking about with Newfoundland, the storm may explode. This front will move into the Maritimes. Big storm over Newfoundland. That'll pull in some much cooler weather, strong winds, but perhaps some sunshine. So we'll get it out of the way, perhaps, for the weekend.
That's good.
You bet it is.
Some nice weather. If we keep this up for a little while longer and then get that out of the way, then maybe good sailing next week.
Good sailing, clear sailing. But again, it's going to be kind of tough for the Mariners coming up next 24 hours or so. After that,
as long as they know.
You bet.
Thanks a lot, Ron. Now, the World Series, 3-1, and he is in perfect shape, and he was probably a little bit less out of breath than you are now. You're running around getting your weather data together.
I always want to get the very latest to bring to the public. You know, we want them to see the very latest satellite pictures, all the fun stuff. I'll take the bike with perhaps 4 wheels with an engine. That's always a little bit easier to do. That's the safe way to go. You're going to get where you're going. Now we're talking about the temperatures, which continue to tumble. The clouds did crumble. I'm going to leave everyone with a forecast which won't make you moan and mumble. All the details coming up when News Plus 7 continues. Well, tonight the temperature's on the way down, but no reason to frown. We've got a beauty on tap tomorrow. Lots of sunshine, along with rich blue skies across the New England 6-day region. At the airport, dew point of 31. That's the potential low temperature during tonight, so watch out for some real frost around, along with a freeze. Relative humidity of 59%, barometer 30.17, and continues to rise. High today, a beautiful 64, and the low is the current of 44 degrees, 30s to the north, 39 in Holton, 35 as you head towards Caribou. Lots of starlit skies to the south and west as well. Mostly in the mid-40s to 52 in Beantown, 50 in Hartford. Most of the winds now mostly between 5 and 15 miles per hour. No big gusts like we had earlier. Now they're out in the Maritimes. And we're looking at 19 atop the Rock, Mount Washington, 30s out to the west as well. And the degrees are dipping. They'll continue to do that tonight. So we do have a real chilly one on tap. We'll go on and take a look at the old barometer bearings and checking those out. Well, earlier today it was about 30.00 inches. Since then, it continues to rise. Now watch your barometers in your homes. It should be reading very close to 30.15 inches. In central Maine. To the north, it's clear, about 30.05 inches, and to the south, roughly 30.05 as well. Again, it's going to continue to rise to nearly 30.5 inches tomorrow, and with the rising barometer, winds out of a westerly direction, expect the clearing which we've had, and then a fair weather pattern at least through tomorrow. That's the good news. We'll go on to the radar roundup showing no precipitation echoes. That's good news as well. Nothing out to our west, so nothing to come in tomorrow, although showers and thunderstorms from the Carolinas southwestward into northern Georgia, also Mississippi, along the Louisiana coast into Texas as well. Down in here, they're a big huff and puff with all the showers and thunderstorms from Mother Nature. Cold cuff in here. La Crosse, Wisconsin this morning dropped to 24 degrees for a record for the day. And we had the sunny stuff, something we haven't seen in a while. We'll enjoy it tomorrow as well. To the south, the rains have been rough with flash flood advisories in effect for southeastern Arizona, southern New Mexico. Some areas very, very heavy rain. Bisbee, Arizona has been busy cleaning up from 2 inches of rain down there. Also rain up into western Montana as well. The eye from the sky just into the Channel 7 studios showing us that here in the east, well, just a bit of a patchwork sky, but clearing out, then dandy and dry. It's all coming in for tomorrow. We'll go out to the west, and you can see no big deal out here except for down in the southwest being put to a wet test. Heavy showers and thunderstorms with an upper level system to the south pumping in Pacific moisture. Broad view, clouds in the southern flanks, clouds in the northern flanks in the middle. Oh, thanks. And you'll say thank you to Mother Nature tomorrow with all the sunshine out here. Out toward Hawaii, you can see around the island quite a bit of clouds and a good pattern. Nonetheless, some clearness in the middle. I want to show you the current national map, which is indicating we do have the high pressure system. And yes, it is chilly. If you don't get an extra blanket on the bed tonight, oh, you'll be considered silly. No question about that. Very, very cold. Look what's going to be happening, though. By tomorrow evening into Friday morning, high moves off the coast, and we could have some clouds moving up, maybe even some showers late in the day on Friday. Nonetheless, tomorrow's highs, we can get the old layer cake to the south. They'll bake 80s and 90s in central Florida, while to the north, a bit of a frosting on the cake, just nudging near 50 as you head out into the Great Lakes, where they will have a few shakes with those light winds out there as well. We'll go out to the Maritimes, and you can see just a few clouds around, but they're tending to clear out. Gusty going, 30 miles per hour out in St. John's and gusts, 9 towards Gander, also Dale Lake, 10 in Stephenville, 9 also in Sydney, a few clouds around. Starry across Prince Edward Island, 8 both at Charlottetown and Summerside, where it's gusting nearly 35 miles per hour, 11 and 12 as you head towards Halifax and towards Yarmouth. Northwesterly winds are quite strong in the hub, Moncton 7 and 6 in the capital, Fredericton. A few showers in Yarmouth. Those are dissipating as I speak. We'll check out the marine scene and Skywatch for you coming up right after this. Well, checking out the way it's going to look to you, you've seen it from the satellite point of view. Skyscan 7 Skywatch tomorrow, just a few what we call cumulus clouds. Those are those vertically stacking clouds, not the horizontal ones which bring widespread rain and fog. Look for just fair weather tomorrow, lots of blue, no major problems. That's the good news. Good news in the marine scene as well, running from Eastport to the Merrimack River up to 25 miles offshore. Look for the winds west to 20 knots, but they're diminishing 5 to 15 knots the rest of tonight and tomorrow, shifting southerly tomorrow night as the high pressure wheels off the coast. Seas averaging 2 to 4 feet tonight, 2 feet or less tomorrow. Visibility 5 miles or better. That's good news. The weather will be fair. Bar Harbor high tide, next scheduled one, 1:19 in the morning, and 7:23 tomorrow morning is the next scheduled low tide. So the forecast, the way I see it for Bangor, Brewer, and vicinity, tonight starlit skies. It'll be a bit snappy out there. Lows dropping down into the low to mid 30s around here. It'll be in the low to mid 20s to the north and west, where they're already in the 30s up through central and northern Aroostook County. For tomorrow, looks like a nice one with plenty of sweet sunshine. We'll all be tasting it and breathing it in. Pleasant puffies around. Highs will be in the low to mid 50s. Otherwise, lighter winds means a beautiful day during tomorrow. For tomorrow night, once again, the 3 C's, clear, calm, and crispy. High clouds moving in during the late night. Lows dropping into the mid and upper 30s, a bit warmer. And the outlook now for Friday. The sun will be fading with high clouds collecting, comfy into the mid and upper 50s. Could even be a few showers scattered widely later Friday, and perhaps some showers again on Friday night before perhaps a real Arctic AMS I'm seeing on the weather charts may come in here at the beginning of next week. We'll be watching that. Perhaps the first real wintry shot.
What else can we ask for? Clear, calm, crispy, and comfy.
Boy, you really can't ask for anything more.
Just paying attention.
You certainly were. The 3 C's, I guess you've taken your vitamins, huh?
That's a wonderful forecast. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Good weather for people and for birds. Big birds tonight.
The business at hand we're all concerned about is the weekend weather forecast. To tell us about it, Ron Harris.
And once again, we're going to come through with flying colors. We're looking pretty good around here. Once again, beautiful weather continuing. It'll be the opposite of sour, and we'll have lots of sunshine power. But again, we have to set the clocks back 1 hour. We'll go back in time in the forecast right after this. Well, right now we've got the big breeze, but coming up over the weekend's a case of the beauties. That's the good news. Lots of nice weather through much of the upcoming weekend. Right now across New England and right at the airport, dew point 32, relative humidity 36%, nice and dry as the front is offshore. Barometer 29.78 and rising. Another good sign. High today, we did it again, a pair of 6s and the low of 58. That's 17 degrees above the normal, so we continue warmer than normal. More on that shortly. Strong northwesterly winds gusting to 36 miles per hour in Limestone today, 30 miles per hour off to the south towards Hartford, gusting to 25 in Boston with a temperature of 65, quite mild to the south. Colder air hasn't quite penetrated down there. Strong northwesterly winds continuing, mostly 50s out in the Green Mountain State, and we are in, of course, that gusty northwesterly grip, but it'll be easing up as the night wears on. A lot of people asking me about heating degree days because that's what's going to be coming up and what we're talking about more and more as we get into the colder weather. Very simply put, a lot of people get confused on it. It's simply the number of degrees by which the average daily temperature falls below a standard. We use the standard of 65 degrees as the mean, meaning that that temperature of 65 as a mean temperature is when little or no heat is required. All you have to do, for an example, is if you have an average temperature on one day of 42 degrees, simply take that and subtract it from the 65 and you will get 23. 65 minus the 42, so 23 heating degree day units on that day. What are the purposes for some of this stuff? Well, this is what we're talking about. A lot of fuel supplies have to look at this and see what they're going to do in terms of their schedule and how much they're going to have to use during the upcoming season. Also, building design. What kind of structure do you have to build for a home? And what area, climatologically speaking, for the best fuel consumption? And also, you have to look for indoor comfort, the most cost-effective ways you can look at heating degree days as well. So this is one of the things that you look at. For instance, a building in Chicago would take, would you believe, 4 times the heat capacity as the same similar type structure building down in New Orleans. So that's one of the reasons we look at heating degree days. Now you can all sleep easier, I'm sure. Out to the radar roundup. Where's the precipitation? Off through Texas and southwestward, carries a sigh of relief on that. Showers and thunderstorms through San Angelo, Texas. Quite a bit of rainfall. They have reported 2 inches of rain down there. More showers in the southern plains, but mostly dry in here. Look at these warm temperatures. 75 Atlantic City, New Jersey. 84 beautiful record-shattering degrees in Wilmington, North Carolina. The temperatures have some zip down here. Choice chip is what's coming in our direction for the weekend. Lots of sunshine. We do have to watch a system off to the northwest. A few showers clipping western Montana on toward Washington State. Could bring a brief shower, especially north and west during Sunday. But other than that, we are looking super. The eye from the sky right now is showing us, first of all, across New England. We can see the front right on here, which has pushed offshore. Now the winds roar. Look how nicely it cleaned out in the coastal plain. Clouds stacking in the mountains. Out to the west, mostly cloudy in the northwest. Otherwise, the sun at its best one more time with beautiful weather down here. Again, the showers up across Washington State. Broadview shows much of the country is simply dry. This system we're watching with a close eye could cause more rainfall for the western Gulf Coast states. Current national map, delightful, delicious, dandy, dry. Take your pick of them. It continues beautiful out here. It will continue because by tomorrow, look what we have got. High pressure moving to the coast, and that means to that we can toast. Beautiful weather. Just a glancing glow on the temperatures tonight. Let's look at the overnight lows. 30s and some low 20s in some areas. Just a glancing glow. Southern plains, that's what you're looking at. Gung-ho 60s and even some lower 70s overnight lows. Here we go, folks. Don't forget, this weekend, Saturday night, before you go to bed, you want to set the clock back because we go back in time, going back to standard time as we are now in daylight savings time, but you set the clock back, so you must remember fall is back. Now, why'd I do that? Not to make yourself think that I'm a nut, even though I am, of course. Also, I want you to remember the main reason is that you'll say, oh, you remember he fell back? Set your clocks back and do it. You want to remember do it before you go to bed, because if you have a Halloween party during the morning, you're going to be holding your head. It's going to be more of a task. How about if we go out to the Maritime, see what's happening? Oh, no 10 out there. Temperature's 10 degrees Celsius, but a lot of shower activity across much of the island. Temperature about 13 degrees Celsius in Yarmouth. Gusty winds across New Brunswick. Temperatures mostly in the mid-teens Celsius. Breezy and balmy out here. Clearing out in the Maritimes, most of Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, a nice sunny day tomorrow, although Newfoundland, you can look for more showers tomorrow and tomorrow night. We'll take a peek at the past week and the upcoming weekend weather coming up right after this.
In 1966, the first operational weather satellite was launched, launching mankind into a whole new concept of weather analysis. First, simple hard copy black and white photos could be observed. But things were on the go. Suddenly, color was added along with new depth and dimension as the world of color graphics exploded into existence. This may be just the catalyst to what satellite meteorology will offer in the near future. A new generation of satellites to monitor weather is planned for the 1990s. Good news for the storm-weary and weather forecasters alike. A major objective of the next generation Geostationary Orbiting Environmental Satellite, or GOES for short program, is to provide the data needed to upgrade accuracy in short-term forecasts and local severe weather warnings. The new 65-foot GOES satellite will operate from 2 fixed locations, both 22,300 miles in space. But unlike current satellites, they'll have the capability to send overlapping images of cloud cover and with much greater detail than ever before. They will be able to pinpoint storms with a margin of error no greater than the length of the Golden Gate Bridge. The first of these will be launched from the Space Shuttle in late 1989. Satellite meteorology, perhaps as limitless as the bounds of space itself. Okay, thank you, Ron. Our problem continues to be the very same problem which started this whole situation during earlier today, and what that is very cold air draining in at the surface, while aloft 5 to 10,000 feet in the atmosphere, a lot of warm air. That's causing the precipitation. Radar plots still indicating a lot of precipitation coming up, bumping into all the cold air at the surface, producing a lot of freezing rain, and with the weather indications showing the cold air sticking in here, we do have to call for more freezing rain around here. Northern viewers, northern Aroostook County, even central Aroostook County, a major ice storm may be on tap, as temperatures may not get above the freezing mark. Some areas have had freezing rain in southern Maine for some 7 to 8 hours now, so we're not out of the woods yet. If you're going to be driving tonight, use extreme caution. Of course, the bridges and overpasses will stay frozen the longest as the cold air settles in around there, and I'll have more explicit details on this very sloppy story coming up a little later in the broadcast. Ron? Okay, thank you, Ken. I have some good news and some bad news. First, the good news is the fact that the storm is now starting to move away, and as it does, the precipitation is letting up. But the bad news is it's really going to wind up drawing a lot colder air, so that means all the standing puddles and slush around are going to freeze up solid, a lot of slick spots around. Also, with the trees picking up the snow and really weighted down with the absorption of some of the rain around the area, that means a lot of limbs could break in the strong winds as well. So we still have a mess to go through in that respect, but the bulk of the precipitation is over. I'll be back with my detailed forecast coming up a little later in the show. Ken? Good evening, everyone. If you've taken a look out the window, you know Old Man Winter has returned, and we're just getting into this thing. We've got a pretty long road to go. We continue to get data in support of the development of a storm, and it's moving in our direction. Where is it? Let's take a look at the current national map, which is showing low pressure, which is out over New York State. It's that low, which is slowly moving at a snail's pace in our direction, has a pretty good swath of heavy snow with it, and that's going to be moving in mainly after midnight. It'll be coming down quite hard. Note the cold front far out to the west. The two are going to team up, and as they do, the storm is going to explode along the coastline. What that means is a period of heavy snow, and then it's really going to blow tomorrow afternoon. Strong northwesterly winds. We're talking about low wind chill factors, blowing and drifting snow. We'll have all the details coming up at 11 o'clock. Well, throughout the night, I've been watching for a secondary load to explode and dump us with a heavy snow load. It's not happening. The secondary isn't developing. I wasn't anticipating a secondary load to move off the New Jersey coast, then clip off Cape Cod into the Gulf of Maine. That scenario may not take place, but what we are seeing is the primary system out on the regional map, a little bit past this area in our zone, out and through central New York. It's been moving in that direction at a snail's pace, slowly off to the east. As it decamps from that area and continues to move in our direction, we will be looking at the snow, which will augment and really start coming down well after midnight and be coming down quite hard in the morning hours. Right now, we do have light northeasterly winds, more easterly in southern portions of the state, mid-30s there. Teens to the north, abundant cold air around. It'll be all snow. Maybe some of the offshore islands may mix with a little sleet or rain. 39 in Boston, a mixture of rain and snow, otherwise some rain over southeastern Massachusetts. We see at the airport, dew point is 20 and the visibility 3/4 of a mile in the light snow. Barometer is falling and it's going to continue in that trend. High of 28, 10 lower was the low of 18, and it's going to be colder than that over the next couple of days. Let's go on and check out the satellite pic hot off the press. This one just in to show you where the clouds are. Look at the mass spinning up off the coastline, and it's this moisture with a frontal system that's going to get wrapped right into Maine, especially eastern areas. While out to the west, out in the northwest, there was a bit of rain out in the northern areas. Otherwise, more record temperatures. Colorado Springs, Colorado, a record-breaking 66. The warm weather continues out there. Moisture in the east, the primary system right about here will continue to track right on through Maine, giving us the heavy precipitation. Trying to go Hawaiian? Hey, no big deal. There it is right about out there. Out in that area, no big deal. They're going to continue with sunshine while the moisture may be on the way for California. This is not the current map. It's the forecast map. Because my friends in New York have been tracking the storm. They're tired. Tomorrow we'll have the cold air moving in. This is the current map. Don't go by the heading. Here's the low pressure system moving on through our locale. It'll bring in the heavier snow in the next several hours. Meanwhile, check out the highs tomorrow. Single digits near zero in the upper Midwest. That cold air, zoom, it's coming right in our direction. It'll be in your backyard by about tomorrow night. So the cold air is on the way, while the warmth will stay in the west, and we may have more snowy problems by next week. So winter is coming back on its last heels. Let's go on and check out the radar roundup showing some precipitation out to the west and here with a frontal system. This is the Arctic front. Arctic energy will get absorbed into the overall pattern.
with the moisture clipping Cape Cod, and there's some pretty good heavy showers, even some thunder showers starting to pop up on the Chatham radar, and that moisture will swing on into Maine and clip us. So we're under the attack with the snowy weather. While out to the west, hey, a sunny snack. Get out, enjoy, eat it up. Nice temperatures, lower 90s, more records out west. That'll continue, although there may be more rain. They don't need it. More rain, though, on the way for northern California and points north heading into the weekend. The marine scene running from Eastport to the Merrimack River up to 25 miles offshore. Now we do have a gale warning in effect. Now during tomorrow, that may become a storm warning, a real big one on the way. Winds becoming northeast, 20 to 30 knots, becoming northwest during tomorrow, 30 to 40 knots, maybe gusting to 50 knots. Seas building at least 6 to 10 feet. Visibility is lowering 1 mile or less in the snow. We got a high tide, 8:01 in the morning. Next scheduled low tide coming up at 1:41 tomorrow morning. We'll check out the details of the forecast and also how much snow we're going to get right after this. Okay, checking out my overall call on the snowfall, what will be on the ground by noontime during tomorrow. Really no reason to change over the entire zones here. Still going with basically what I've been foreseeing in the future here, and we'll continue with it. Basically 4 to 8 inches of snowfall in the southwestern sector. That would include, say, East Hiram on to Brunswick, Maine, point south. Basically in the southernmost areas down there, closer to the 4-inch, so not a big deal down there, as most of the energy will churn to the north. Now, much of central Maine, you run from, say, Penobscot Valley all the way to the western portion of the state, Oxford County, all the counties in between, 6 to 12 inches of snow. I'm thinking in Bangor, roughly 6 to 8 inches of snow right around here before all the blowing and drifting starts tomorrow afternoon. Eastern Aroostook County, down east, eastern Washington County as well, 8 to 14 inches, and then all the blowing and drifting as well. We'll put it back in the form of the forecast for Bangor, Brewer, and vicinity tonight. A winter storm warning remains in effect. We've got the snow, very light now in many areas, but I do think it'll pick up in intensity in the next 2 to 3 hours, becoming heavy. Lows will be dropping into the lower 20s. For tomorrow, well, we're calling for heavy snow. It'll be tapering off during the morning hours toward noon with blowing and drifting. Highs will be basically in the low to mid-20s, but look at the temperatures. In the afternoon, a backwards day, they're going to start falling into the mid-teens to near 10 by sunset. Tomorrow night, real cold. In fact, dangerous wind chills, maybe some snow squalls wrapping around moisture, but the big storm moving through the Maritimes. Wild winds, they'll be blowing and drifting. Low near the goose egg, the wind chill will give you goosebumps, 40 below zero. And the outlook right now for Saturday, we'll have a mix of sun and clouds with glacial gusts. Only a high in the mid-teens, and the winds will make it feel like it's 30 below zero. We're headed straight for the icebox.
What a difference from earlier this week. What
a big change.
Now, we know that UMO and a lot of other colleges are going on spring break tomorrow, so the key is drive carefully on the roads. And I just got off the telephone with Bangor Public Works Department. They've been following your forecast, and they're out on the streets already sanding and salting the roads. So thanks a lot.
Getting a nice jump on it, and everything should be okay by later tomorrow. But a lot of blowing and drifting. Doesn't look to be a crippling or a block-busting storm, but we could get 6 to 8 inches around here, then blowing and drifting. So winter is back.
All right, thanks for the update. Appreciate it, Ron. Ron Lissett is up next with sports action. Stay with us.
Attack.
Let's assume that an armored vehicle comes down Wyoming Avenue. Say 10 to 12 heavily armed commandos jump out, shoot their way through the internal gate, seize hostages.